te iba a presentar. Welcome, everyone. I just wanted to say two things. I think we're here, we're proud to be part of the Digital group in the spirit of the chairman's leadership, and I am grateful, and I think we are grateful for our CEO's Pedro Azagara's support. So please join me in welcoming Pedro Azagara, our CEO, to the opening.
So good morning, everybody. A pleasure, as always, to be with all of you. I think I want to start saying thank you to everybody who's in charge of these duties, because they're very important for us. And you heard this from me before, especially in an environment with ESG being under threat. Okay, I think those of you who deal with that on a daily basis, you know, this is not the moment for that to be on top of the agenda of anybody. And I think in our case, you know, we think it's the right moment to continue with that being in the agenda. Same thing that our renewable goals. I'd like to start today also congratulating John and Kate, you know, our new leadership in HR. I think, you know, it's outstanding, you know, the work they have done, and they deserve, you know, to take over, you know, those responsibilities. So I want to make sure everybody welcomes them and supports them. They have, you know, a lot of things ahead of them. I've got very good feedback. A lot of people telling me, you know, congratulations, you know, for the new team in charge. So I'm very pleased for both of you, and I'm pleased, you know, a lot of things ahead of us, ahead of you. So all my support, you know, on anything you need. I think today, you know, this is our third diversity week at Avangrid. Okay, so I think, you know, it's not the first one, second one, is the third one. I think the week, as you know, serves as a cornerstone, you know, for our company's actions to lead forward with our diversity, equity, and inclusion, you know, initiatives and achieve meaningful outcomes. This year, Diversity Weeks begins today through Thursday, presenting an opportunity for all of us to openly reaffirm our commitment to DE and One Avangrid, and to connecting and engaging with one another in person. This is important, one another, okay? I want to make sure everybody takes this always very seriously, and we expand, okay? One of the key things for all of us is always respect. We need to respect all opinions, but it's very important to engage. You know, that's why I think, you know, this would be an example of engaging with, you know, one with each other, because that's a must for all of us. I think this will be, you know, opportunity, you know, to create a real personal space where each of you and everyone has an equal opportunity to engage, grow, lead, and succeed. And I'm very keen on this. You know, I've been telling our teams all the time, we are a company that is exceeding almost any metric of anything in every angle, okay? And this is one of them. And that's why it's very important that anybody who has an issue, put it on the table. Don't put it on the table a year later, okay? Or a year ago, you know, somebody said, you know, put it on the table right now. Anybody who has an idea, put it on the table. Okay, we're welcoming, you know, ideas all the time in every part of the day-to-day that we all have, you know, as an obligation, you know, to do things, you know, from a professional point of view and personal point of view on anything that can be improved. I think, you know, Chairman Galan, in my opinion, is a changer. You know, he's a benchmark in the sector in many things, but, you know, if you see the company, when he joined the company, I was there with him, and probably the only guy who was there at that time, who is left, you know, with him, you know, and I remember, you know, there was one woman as an executive in Iberdrola that I met. When I joined Iberdrola, and he joined, one. I mean, if you see right now, you know, where we are as a company, it's totally different. So from that point of view, this traditional male culture engineer company, no. As you know, in Brazil, we have our school for electricians right now only for women. So there are many things, can be changed, and I think this is an example of his leadership, what really changed, and I think we just need to continue and enhance and improve because, everything is not over, of course. I think, in Avangrid, our commitment is very strong, remains part of our company. It stands for engaging in a culture of trust, accountability, and competitiveness, and service to each other. I think that's important because sometimes, people think we're in a non-profitable company. No, we're not in a non-profitable company. If we don't make money, the shareholders are not going to give us money, and the debt holders are not going to give us money. So, but at the same time, that doesn't exclude, to deliver to our employees, to our, communities, to the people who need more help, etc. So it's a combination that makes a company to be a number one, and that's why it's very important to deliver on this. I think we're delivering, through building, we're progressing, and that's why, the dedication I see, those of you doing volunteering jobs, I think it's outstanding. And I'm very keen right now putting that out, okay? Not because, you want to have a picture of you, that everybody sees. It's just because truly deserve to be known. And we're doing that, as you know, through our media people, both internally and externally. Let me just, some efforts that I think need to be recognized. For example, this year, we were named, the Forbes, 2024 list of America's best employers for diversity. That's Forbes. It's one of the top guys there, top people, in this type of recognition. So it's very nice. We earned the disability, in 2024 Disability Equality Index Award, which is the main resource for benchmarking corporate disability inclusion practices around the workplace. This is outstanding. I think this is one of those things that, how many companies care about this? How many companies do things, in order to get these awards? You truly do it, and that's why you see the consequences. So very, very important. I think, in my opinion, to be the number one as we want to be globally, it's only if each of us has that objective in all the fronts that we have ahead of us. So, for example, I feel very comfortable we are exceeding the industry in almost everything we try to do. And if we're not exceeding yet, we will. So that's why it's very important, that objective of, being the number one. I think we have surpassed our 2025 aspiration of having 35% of our executive positions filled by women. 35%. Compare this to when I joined the dollar, 1. Okay, I think, look, 35%, but it's not enough yet. We need to continue. I think as a reference, the average percentage in the US is 22. So, almost double. So very pleased about this. Okay, this is example, where you show, you see a company leading. As many of you know, we are publicly committed to achieving 50% gender parity in director level positions and above by 2030. And we're actively working, to get these objectives done. 50-50, that is a must. It's like when we discuss health and safety, and the objective has to be 0. No issues, not even one issue from a health and safety point of view. It cannot be less than last year. It has to be 0. And this is the same. We need to go to this 50-50. That's it. Okay. I always mention, we are in a changing community everywhere. Okay. You know how we've got a problem in the world that everybody feels different. We're different. In the Middle East, we're different. In upstate New York, in downtown, we're different in East Boston, versus South Boston. I'm giving examples I hear. You probably know better than I do those differences. And in the end, for me, everybody's a human being. So everybody's the same. And we just need to accept differences and treat them accordingly, because that's, how you accept, people and they accept you. So that's why we need to be an example on those things. And for me, to be, achieving, I think, this objective is a must. There is no comeback. Put aside ESG dynamics right now with investors and the Ukraine war and everything going on in the world, that is being used to forget about many things, among others, these goals that we believe are very important. I think, this spring, we launched, the first line worker, program in partnership, with Broome Community College in Binghamton to create a diverse pipeline of line workers. That's also very nice. I mean, I've been encouraging the last 2 years more and more collaboration, with universities. That's very, very important. We go there, all of us, okay? Because anybody who has an idea, just put it on the table. Same thing that, as you know, I tell you quite often about engagement with politicians, administrators, and other people. I think, I was very pleased to see, us welcome, trade interns in our CNG, Greenwich, and cohort, number 2 of the UI trade internship, better known as the Union Scholars Program. Okay, that's the name I know. Okay, which basically was the first of its kind in 2023. That's one of the things that probably I say is one of my favorite times, when I see, this new generation of leadership, people coming from low-income utilities, finding a path in life, moving ahead, from trouble situations. We are here to do those things, and we need people to work for us. So from that point of view, it's a win-win. I think this, is a way of bringing early, career talent from communities around Connecticut, New York, and the places where we do business, because they need it and we need it. In addition, I think by November, we'll join Valuable 500. This is also a very important, global organization of 500 partners and companies working to end disability exclusion. And this is important. I think, those people, with disability, they deserve to have the same opportunities we all have. And we need to make, the working environment available for them. Actions like this not only ensure we continue to cultivate a more diverse workforce, but also show that we are a leader in doing so. And I insist on the leadership. We need to be the leading company on those things. I want to thank the volunteers, as I said before, executives and sponsors of our business resource groups, the BRGs, whose actions are essential in driving DEI strategic, change. I also want to thank each of, our 7 BRGs, I think led by volunteers, employees, sponsored by members of Avangrid executive leadership team who make up for DEI Executive Council. That's a very good job, being done there. And every year I can feel, that it's improving and, targeting more things. For all of you that have not yet joined, BRG, I encourage you to do so. They provide opportunities for professional networking, career developments, and learning, community building, and community partnerships. Currently, 1 in every 4 of us belong to at least one business resource group, creating allies and communities. And I always say, let's do this internally, let's do this externally. We need to make sure that everybody takes this as a must because, the things we're achieving through this networking is very good. I'm very proud to see, how you all do these things. I want to say, as always, thank you to all of you. And finally, also, to our DEI team, okay? I challenge you to raise your ambition, being at the heart of the work, you go beyond, and go beyond, what we're doing, today. The team supports employees, customers, suppliers, contractors, and communities, regardless of race, gender, age, sexual orientation, religion, or disability, to ensure everyone has equal opportunity to do well in life. And I subscribe every single of these words. Okay? Again, I compare the company that I joined, the sector that I joined, both in banking and here, and the change is beautiful. I compared my grandmother, the way she had to be brought up, versus what I see right now in my children. I think we're in the right direction, and there is no comeback. That's the important thing that we all need to be. And if anybody has an issue, put it on the table, okay? Because we are here, to make sure things go in the right direction. Please, all of you, we need to find more ways, large or small, to enable and appreciate the value in employee differences, and in doing so, make the entire company stronger. I will always support any initiative any of you wants to bring and put on the table. Please do so as often as you deem appropriate. DEI Week is an opportunity for all of us to learn, share, and build a stronger, more inclusive community within our company. We do so, I encourage each of you to actually participate in the planned discussions, workshops, and activities available to you. But more importantly, I invite you to carry the spirit of inclusion with you beyond this week, into every day and into every interaction and decision you make. And I truly believe on this, okay? Our obligations are 24 hours a day, okay? Both at home here, when we're doing business, meeting people, they need to see that we are, believing, and, when people tell me about, hey, why you are green, okay? Everybody starts to realize we are a green company, okay? It has taken a lot of time to, to do so. Well, it's the same thing. We need to be an example. They need to know us, because we are leading also in all these activities that we have mentioned. But I think, it's important that we have the ambition, to lead and become the #1 company. As you know, the chairman in a recent speech that some of you were present, he basically said a couple of things. What is the secret, to success? Work, work, and work. And I agree with that. And the second thing he said was, we want to be the #1 company. We're still not the #1 company. We're the 30-something company, when some of us joined this company, but we're still the #2. Okay, so we need to be the #1, and it's important in all the fronts. It's not just the market value, it's not just the net income, it's not just the number of customers, in every single front. And that's where DEI comes into place as well. We need to lead and be an example for the sector. I think, this is something that, as you know, is going to require effort, by all of us. I think I would encourage, all of you to dedicate this week and the weeks ahead, the year ahead, to discuss every, initiative, and that, can improve our stakeholder leading organizations where we will be rightful members and are not yet, and imagine and identify the aspirational outcomes that we will make us #1. And that's an objective, we need to achieve. Thank you for being an essential part of this journey as we lead forward. Let's continue to stand united as one Avangrid, celebrating our commonalities, and equally so the differences that make us wiser and stronger as a team. I think on that, when I joined, I never left, but I've been here because I've been in the U.S. all the time. But 2 years and a half ago, when I came back again, full time here, I found things which it was surprising for me. Okay, some things that were disrespectful. Some people, some countries, for some groups and communities, I don't understand that. Okay, and that's why I have the feeling that right now we are moving in the right direction, and we continue. And let's not forget, accountability is one of the important things as well. Okay, we need to achieve our objectives. That's why, that doesn't mean, we cannot be tough, achieving those objectives, putting tough objectives ahead of us. That's something that is important. But at the same time, please count on me to do so. Every single thing that, we have commented this morning and you will see in the rest of today and this week. And, I will try to do my best, to make sure the company is behind each, and every one of those initiatives that you prepare and you put on the table. So thank you very much to all of you. And I think now, I put this in the hands of Liz. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Pedro, for that heartfelt and really inspiring welcome to this exciting week. I also want to extend my welcome and thanks to everyone joining us for today's conversation with the Executive DEI Council about allyship and accessibility. I am truly honored to be here, truly honored. I've been at Avangrid for 8 years, and this is one of the highlights of my time here. In order to offer context and access for all joining us today, I'm going to do a brief, inclusive introduction of myself. My name is Liz Riat. I'm the Vice President and Deputy General Counsel of Avangrid. And I am the executive sponsor of the CARE BRG. I use she, her pronouns. I am a white woman with straight brown hair and brown eyes standing behind a podium, and I'm wearing a green suit with a white floral scarf. No one would ever say that lawyers don't understand the message when it's being delivered by the CEO about wearing green. Before we get into our discussion of allyship and accessibility with the DEI Executive Council, I'd like to recognize and give special thanks to our CEO, Pedro Azagra. As some companies are stepping back from their commitment or are hesitant to create diverse and inclusive workplaces, Pedro has remained steadfast to Avangrid's commitment to being a DEI leader. An inclusive culture that celebrates diversity, promotes equity, and fosters an environment where every voice is heard and valued is integral to Avangrid's current and future success. I'd also like to second Pedro's thanks to the DEI team, Liberna Charles, Claudia Olivia, and Ruth Thompson for organizing today's event, and all of DEI Week. And lastly, I'd like to thank all the members of the BRGs. Many of our BRGs have traveled here today from other offices to participate in this important week. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your time and your effort and your passion to make Avangrid a true DEI leader with a culture that empowers all of our employees. Okay, that's enough for me. I'd like to have our panelists come up and join us. They each have important business roles. They each have important business roles in our organization, but they are critical to supporting and achieving our DEI commitments. Yeah, take your pick. Excellent, okay. First, we have Lainey Brown, Vice President of Sustainability and the Executive Sponsor of the Women Energy BRG. Al Raymond, Vice President of Regulatory Compliance and Executive Sponsor of the Pride BRG. We have Puneet Verma, Vice President of Government Affairs and Executive Sponsor of the ACAPA BRG. And we have Ignacio Estella, who is our new SVP of DEI, and who we all heard from last week during the town hall. And then sitting in the front row, who may or may not be called on today, we have Jose Antonio Miranda Soda, President and CEO of Avangrid Renewables, and he's the executive sponsor of the OLA BRG. And we have Liberna Charles, Vice President of Talent Management and Diversity. We have a lot of experience at Avangrid and within our communities today to have this conversation. So I want to jump into kind of our, a discussion of our commitment at Avangrid to DEI. So I'm going to start with you, Lainey. In June 2023, the Supreme Court held that race-conscious affirmative action, that is the consideration of an applicant's race as one factor in making an admissions decision to realize the educational benefits of diversity, is unconstitutional. While not directly impacted by this ruling, many companies have elected to publicly limit their policies and their statements about inclusion. In some cases, they're ceasing those policies that are compliant with the law because they either have not yet realized or they're not measuring the value of authentic inclusion. They're concerned, perhaps overly, with the risk of litigation, or they are reflecting their stakeholder values, which may be different than the ones that Avangrid holds. Avangrid has remained steadfast in believing in inclusion and taking formative action to remove obstacles to effective equal opportunity. So Lainey, why is representation and inclusion important here at Avangrid? What are you as a leader personally committed to in order to advance DEI within our organization?
And I was warned about that, and then I forgot.
You gotta say it all over again.
Thank you.
Exactly the same way.
Okay, yeah, word by word. I could never do that. So I think a couple of things that we know. Well, one, I was looking at the Edelman Trust Barometer about racism and social justice, and corporations are the most trusted of across the U.S. population to take action on race and on DEI. So that puts us, and it has increased considerably in the last couple of years. So we are in the right place and doing the right thing, just to say, and I think that's really important. Just in terms of the value, I mean, it also makes sense because it improves our ability to make decisions. More diverse folks sitting at the table solving problems means we'll do a better job solving those problems. We also can serve our customers better. In the week of customer service, that's really important. It means better financial results. Data shows, again, in that area of better decision making with more diverse thinking. And it also attracts and retains talent. So fundamentally, okay, why wouldn't you do it? Just to say that. From a sustainability perspective, I think there's a couple of things that I think are really important. Built into sustainability is transparency. It's about credibility, it's about disclosure, and that also means taking action. We disclose a tremendous amount, and I think whenever I'm up here, I always say, you should read our stuff. But in our GRI reporting, in our sustainability reporting, there's a tremendous amount of data that demonstrates where we are. And there's also our ESG goals that say we have these commitments to continue to move forward. And I think that's really important, both that accountability, that transparency, and the commitments. And then lastly, I guess I would say, as we look at where we are from a just and fair energy transition, when we have climate change, when we have a tremendous opportunity, and there's no clear path on how we're going to get there, doesn't it make sense to have the most diverse, best problem solvers, 100% sitting at the table, as opposed to just a few of those? That's.
Thank you, Lainey.
Yep.
So, depending on your personal perspective or experience, allyship in the workplace can take a lot of different forms and has varying levels of effectiveness. And we know, as Lainey said, having the diverse team there solving the problems is so critical to success. And I know from time to time, BRG members struggle to get their direct managers to support their participation. Al, can you explain what effective allyship looks like to you, and how you and other members of senior management can engage in allyship and encourage managers at all levels of the organization to support and encourage BRG participation? Turn your mic on.
How's that? Thanks, Liz. I think that's a great question. Look, allyship is critical. in what we're trying to do, right? And the exciting thing about allyship is it's one of the things every single person in our company can do today to get us towards that goal of a diverse and inclusive culture. So when I think about what an effective ally is, you're talking about appreciating the diversity that our employees bring to the workplace, encouraging them to speak up and present their diverse views in a safe environment, and supporting them when they do that. And so the qualities of a manager that we're looking for in an ally is appreciating diversity and recognizing the biases that we have as people, right, and the biases in our environment, being active listeners to different viewpoints, supporting and caring about our employees, and then promoting a culture of respect and inclusivity. And so when you think about what the qualities are of an effective ally, those are the same qualities that reside within our best managers. You know, it's two sides of the same coin. And so to think about what we could do in terms of encouraging greater commitment to that is for managers at every level of our organization and our employees to do the first fundamental thing, which is show up. And that means taking the time and giving the time to go to events like this and really being visible so people can see that you're there and that you're present. Because I think it's one thing to tell people that you support diversity, equity, inclusion in the workplace, and it's another to show it. And I think we really need to show it as managers. A great example of that is a number of years ago. For those of you who remember the very first year that we raised a rainbow flag outside of 180 Marsh Hill to honor the Pride BRG. And it was a tremendous success. There were a huge number of people there, including over a dozen executives. And I'm proud to say, and for those of you who remember, that the vast majority of people who were at that event were allies, not necessarily members of the Pride BRG. I think that we really have to continue that type of approach.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks, Al. So I'm going to pivot to Jose Antonio in the front row here, because he has a lot of managers that report up to him. So this is an issue that I think he thinks about all the time. So is there anything, Jose Antonio, that you'd like to add about how managers can model allyship for their teams? And then how do we measure the impact of allyship and determine if it's effective?
Can you hear me well? If you don't, I will put here so I don't give you the back. Well, first, what do I really like about BRGs? And first thing is to thank them because they are doing. They are doing a second job for free. Okay, yeah, for free in terms of cash, but there are other rewards. Now we will talk about that. But what I like about the BRGs is that we all work very hard in every day to day, right? That's true, many hours. We are a big company. We are more than 8,000 people working in the company, right? And of course, every day there are frictions with other teams, with other people, and you need some space where you talk about that different thing, not the day-to-day work that hopefully you are passionate about. And then you have this escape of these day-to-day problems, issues that we experience, all of us, every day. No? With the BRGs, you have the opportunity to do so, either if it is because you want to help with CARE or with OLA or in the community of Asia Pacific. You choose what you want to do, but the reality is that at least you have a space where you can ease the tensions of every day. And the second thing is about inclusion. The difference between diversity and inclusions, you can have a party and many different people, very diverse people in the party, but are they all invited to really dance in the party? They are dancing, all of them, or only a few of them, right? And this is the difference between diversity and inclusion. And with the BRGs, hopefully everyone is dancing in the BRG. Everyone is included. This is also something that, in my opinion, makes a big difference, no? And then also, well, at the end, if the BRGs are effective, in addition to do what they do for the Hispanic community or for the disabled people, etc., but in addition to that, is helping the company very much, because if people are happier doing what they're doing, probably they are going to be in the company for longer, hopefully forever. So that is the retention and the attrition. Some comparison of the retention ratio could be a very good KPI indicator of if the BRGs are working or not. Also, you know that every 2 years we do our polls, right? And we ask the people, how do you feel? Is the company giving you the space, the opportunity to express yourself, to do things that you're passionate about? I think BRGs also are a response to that. So in summary, thank you so much for all the BRGs, especially for the people that are leading. I think that, again, even if you are not getting a reward in cash, but you are getting rich in connections, you are getting rich in experiences. I invite you, all of you, to be part of a BRG and to be active, to participate. This month is the Spanish Heritage. I'm all a sponsor, I have to say, so I have to take any opportunity you give me.
Yes?
So participate in all the activities that we have in OLA this month, and thank you.
Great, thank you. And I just want to tag on to that a little bit. I think that, as Pedro mentioned at the beginning about accountability, I think one of the things too is we have to hold ourselves accountable to these goals and commitments, and really start to look at our actions and look at the data and make sure that we are making the progress that we expect ourselves to do. So thank you, Jose Antonio, that's great. So I want to pivot a little bit to accessibility, which is another one of the themes of our conversation today. And last week, during the all-employee town hall, Ignacio talked with us about Avangrid's continued focus on accessibility and ways that Avangrid can find the resolve to lead for the entire Iberdrola group. And a dear colleague recently described the incorporation of a focus of accessibility in DEI initiatives in a way that really resonated with me about how to think about this. And she said, diversity is making sure everybody has a ticket to the dance. Equity is ensuring that everybody has the transportation they need to get to the dance. Inclusion is asking people to dance. And accessibility is making sure that people can get onto the dance floor. So Librena, with that very eloquent intro, can you talk to us a little bit about why the focus on accessibility now, both globally and within Avangrid, and maybe highlight some of the specific initiatives that are being worked on as we move into 2025 and beyond?
I think this is on. Right? Okay. So when I think about DEI, so about accessibility, it's really about inclusion, right? And we want to eliminate disability exclusion, or is that right? We want to eliminate disability exclusion. We want to be more inclusive when it comes to individuals with disability. And for most part, majority of people have disabilities, but they're not seen. Most of disabilities are not obvious. You can't see them when you're just looking at someone, or even when you're talking to them, you don't know unless they disclose it. So from a DEI perspective, it's all about including disability, from inviting everyone to be themselves at work. If you have a disability, to feel comfortable to talk about it. Because when you talk about it, there may be somebody else in the room who has a similar disability, but it also welcomes and make it a safe place for them to talk about their disability. We're not there yet, but that's where we want to go. And by being a place of psychological safety, by ensuring that everyone can bring their full self to work, we're going to get there. From a talent perspective, because I'm also in charge of talent, it's really, this is a segment of the population that we're not tapping into. They're talented, they are skilled, and we need to create that space. We need to have push buttons at the front door. We need to have ramps. So, when you mention about making sure everybody can get on the dance floor, from a physical accessibility, looking at our buildings, we're currently looking at that. We're working with General Services. They have a plan in place for our largest buildings so that everyone can have access to the building. And then the other aspects that we're looking at is digital, right? Digital accessibility. So if, we're on our computers all day, but for someone who has a disability, how do we make it easier for them to use their laptop, to use the big screen? So we're looking at all of these things. We're not there yet, but we're working towards there. So in 2025, this is going to be a focus, not just for Avangrid, but also for Iberdrola. And I wanted to point out that Fabrizia is here today from Spain, and she's the global head of DEI, so welcome. Fabrizia, thanks for being here. But this is really, we're excited to look at this from a talent perspective, accessing that group of people that we're not accessing right now to fill some of our open positions. But even for our employees currently who have disabilities, we want to make you feel comfortable to talk about it with your manager. We're going to offer training for the managers. We have a training this week that CARE is going to moderate, and it's about disability etiquette. So how do you speak to someone with disability, right? And that, how do you approach them? Because there are right ways and wrong ways to make them feel comfortable when you're talking about them. So that's our journey for 2025
Thanks, Verna.
and beyond.
And I didn't prep you for this, but Ignacio, I know you've been thinking a lot about accessibility, so is there anything you might want to add to that?
For a good reason. Thank you. So, no question. To me, accessibility is fundamentally common sense. Common cause and business common sense. It's no different than letting everyone have the equal opportunity to contribute to the company. I have the ambition of the chairman. I've inhabited the ambition of Pedro, and I believe in being ambitious. To me, the ambition accessibility is that we land an outcome where we have the measured, personal, each of us, or those of us, interpersonal, among us, an organizational feeling of inclusion. It's a measured, personal, interpersonal, organizational outcome of feeling included. That's the word we're launching, but that's the ambition. So hold me accountable if you don't feel that way. I think, very importantly, the facts are extraordinary. And you talk about some metaphor of the dance. There's someone in this meeting room that has touched each of us with a magic wand to believe in this cause. I think maybe Amanda, you're the one. So thank you, Amanda, for inspiring all of us. Credit due where credit given. But I do believe that the facts are compelling. Up to 1 in every 4 of us may have a disability, of which 75% are not obvious. What's that word? Not obvious. So let's open our minds. Find the way to be relatable. If you walk into a bucket truck and you find that the tools needed for the job are not there, if you're trying to launch an app and it doesn't quite launch, and I won't say freezes, if you're working late at a building, work, and you're locked in, you can find relationally how our colleagues fight hourly, daily, weekly, to be just like us. Ultimately, I would like us to think that it is not that they cannot X, Y, Z. It is we cannot leave them out. So it's not they can't, it's we don't see them. We don't hear them. We leave them out. We don't understand. Sometimes we don't accommodate. So it's work. I'm excited about the team and the substance of it and the subject matter experts. And I think, Labrina has commented a few of the examples, but they're exciting. We need to land. What is most extraordinary is that part of the work to be done, which is well-founded on 2024 achievements, some of the teams are already running ahead of us. It's like we can't really plan for what they're already doing, so we have to go beyond. The general services team is running on their own. They got 4 buildings ready, 17 will certify. How do you get a super-performing, best-in-class team to do more? The digital access team is already like safe-proofing and validating that. It's like we mentioned something one day and they're just on their own. And I expect other teams to catch with that speed. I think the procurement team, which has Tatiana, an extraordinary trailblazer in putting us with a partner, but I like mentioned, what if we had catalog? We provide the ability for just enough of those items that make the workspace and able, livable, and accessible be part of a fast IT Now ticket. And she ran with it, and Felix as well. So we're running out of a plan? No, we're not. We will do more, but I'm encouraged by how ready the company is. So let's get to work.
Great. So I'm going to keep you on the hot seat, Ignacio, since I pivoted to you. And
That's my job.
So, you know, you mentioned work. But it's easy with all of our busy lives, our busy family lives, our busy lives in our communities to be passive, especially when it comes to conversations around DEI. And, you know, to be frank, some of the feedback we get in the Loop survey is stop, enough about DEI, this isn't a problem, we just want to do our job and go home. So Ignacio, how do you respond to efforts in conversation, to push back to efforts and conversations around inclusion, and how do you call people in versus calling them out?
I have a conviction. This is the only I am going to say today. Companies are places where people disagree, then get things done. So companies are not places where people come to agree. They come to get things done, reaching agreement. So stop, you're wrong. It's a perfectly valid conversation starter in any company, in this company, in my job. When we try to invest, we'll hear stops from control, stop from the CEO, stop from legal. A safe company is a company with good friction, stops every, I won't qualify the idea, every idea that is not mature or not ready. So it's a perfectly valid conversation starter. And in my job, I have to show the conviction, bring over the examples, and build a bridge that they can cross. Because I work for 8,000 employees plus one. The one, I think we know the name. The 8,000 is my commitment. No, I truly, passionately believe it that way. And everyone, and I won't say, woo, you, it's like they're making it easy because they have a view of how to work on. But I've already had those conversations. No, stop, what are you doing? Yeah. And I think it's a perfectly valid conversation starter in a healthy culture of trust where not everyone can be persuaded all the time, and we have to make the case that this is common sense each time, every time. I have the virtue of persistence. So to a no, I will come with another question in the pursuit of a different answer until we find common cause, because I work for 8,000 people. So all of those willing to tell me stop, here I am. Start first with me. Let's see where we can go.
No, I agree with that. And I believe that if you are truly listening, you can always find something you agree upon that will start a conversation. You may disagree on all sorts of things. People disagree with legal all the time. But we can find one thing we agree upon, and that can be the beginning of a conversation about meeting each other at least on the same table.
So Lizzie, with every one of you in this panel and plenty of you in this room, we have started conversation with a no. I can remember, I don't recall all of them, but all of them.
I do.
Yeah.
But they always end well.
Always.
Do you recall? No, you recall that? It's my job to hear the people that say no because they work for the company. So let's get to yes, with all, for all.
I also would just say that
You
it's
remember?
a conversation. I have
Okay.
a couple of, but you know, better to start a conversation.
That's great. That's great. Thank you both. Okay, so Puneet, I know you thought you'd get away without having to talk too much today, but we're getting kind of to the close of our time. I have one more question, one for Puneet, and then I have a surprise question the panel has not prepared for that I told them that I haven't told them about. So, so Puneet, since you're the head of regulatory affairs and you're very adept at speaking with politicians, which is clear with our recent results and how effective your team has been, I know that you could give us some final nuggets to kind of tie everything together that we've been talking about today, and kind of tie it together for us. So, as you know, the BRGs play an important role in increasing inclusion and belonging in the organization. Do you have any examples from coalition building, from your time in Washington, that you could give leadership that might be helpful for us to all kind of mull over?
I will try. Believe me, you won't be smarter at the end of this. The DC, when you talk about like working with politicians, there's groups for everything, literally everything. I make a joke, there's a button lobby because that's why I get a spare button on every shirt, because like who would think to put extra buttons on a shirt? You can always find a coalition, and part of what I spend all of my time on, and my entire team, we spend our time on, is building collaborations and kind of connecting with people. How do you do that? How does it work? I can tell you, as everybody was talking, am I? Okay, sorry. Louder? Wow. My wife never says louder. Hey, louder. So part of what we do is find the right coalitions to work with. As everybody was talking, I was going back to actually a comment Pedro made at the beginning, and it was building off a chairman's comment about us wanting to be number one. Number one on all fronts. Whether we're leading or not, we're not number one, and that's not good enough. And that kind of drives everything. And the truth is, you can't be number one unless you have allies. You have partners, unless you have groups you can work with. And DC is no different. Just to go a little bit political for a second, everybody hears about politics and all the fractioning and people are running to either side. Here's a fun fact. There's no supermajority in our future at the federal level, which means to actually get things done, you're going to have to come together. You're going to have to work together and build partnerships, and that's where we spend our time. So to try and be responsive to the question itself and how it maybe applies here to any of the BRG efforts and our DEI efforts, it's really about how you engage and being open. And I'm going to pick up on some of the themes that were said. The biggest thing is, if you're going to start a conversation with someone, it's likely going to start with no. And yeah, and you'll hear it. But you have to start the conversation with the person or the group where they are, not where you are. Because otherwise, it's just a talking at each other. And so what I always found is, if you're really going to start, go to them, whoever them is, whatever group you're thinking about, understand, find those nuggets where you do align. Because I can tell you, I can say it, I haven't met a single person in my life I agree with them on everything. So there's always something there, and that's okay. Find the nuggets of agreement, and that there starts the conversation. That starts the thing to build upon. And if you can do that, you'll find that there's a lot of folks that are there that are willing to help you, that align with you. You can bring them along to some of the things that you want. And if you disagree, you got to be true to what you are. And that's okay also. I think everybody that you speak to, always be true to what you are. Say, hey, here's where we agree, here's where we disagree, and you find ways to work together in areas where we align. So lots of words. I hope I conveyed something of value in all that. But that's what we do in DC. I think it absolutely applies to what the BRGs do, what DEI is all about. And certainly in all of our interactions, I'm looking at you especially, Ignacio, that's how we function. We state our disagreements, we come to resolutions, and we march forward as a team to achieve results. That's what this is about.
Great. Thanks, Praneet. So the last question, that should be a surprise for the panel, hopefully not a hard one, is I was hoping each of you could leave us with something that you're personally going to do to support or advance allyship and inclusion within our company, and it can't be something you've already said. Actionable, too, if you can. So do you want to start, Ignacio?
So I joined the pack, the company pack, and I encourage you to join the pack. And I hadn't joined the pack for a number of reasons, but the reason I joined the pack is because you can't engage in conversation if you don't have voice. And voice in a pack is contributions. So there's two choices, voice or exit. I'm a person that respects voices. I joined the pack, hence why Puneet and I have very good friction all the time. That's my number one action.
A good friction.
Yeah, you know. But think about it carefully before you join. Yeah.
Lainey, do you want to
Yeah. Well, I've said this to Liburna, And so I'm going to say it here. I may regret this only from a scheduling perspective, but I told Liberna that if she ever needed somebody to sit on an interview panel to make sure we have a diverse interview panel, I volunteered.
I match you.
That's great.
That's great.
Okay.
All of
Write
us
it
should be
down.
volunteering for panels, yes.
Yeah, and I encourage everybody, so then I don't have to.
All of you, so will all of you volunteer for panels? Thank you, yes, agree, match,
That's very actionable.
match, done.
I love that. Al?
Let me just say, I have a newer team that is very diverse in terms of their backgrounds and their professional skills. And we just sometimes just completely go at it. Like, I say something and like, there's like, I don't agree with what you just said, Al. And we go back and forth, and every single time it's happened, which is dozens, we've come to a much better result at the end. It's amazing. And so one thing, as we've kind of learned together how to do this in a really respectful and productive way, is that I'd like to start sharing some of the techniques that we're using with other managers and talk about different ways that people can make that happen. Because it's, when you experience a diverse, inclusive team that's trying to solve a problem together, it's amazing. There you go.
That's great.
I
Puneet?
had time to think about this one. No, so for me, I'm not a social media person, just so you know. I kind of stay stealth on all of it. Just not my thing. But it serves a purpose because it gives you a chance to express yourself and say what's important. So it's just a style thing. But I think what I will take on as an action item is on those channels that I do have as an individual, I want to promote more some of our DEI initiatives and some of our BRGs and things that actually affect those communities that are important to all of us collectively. Because they are important to me. It's just, and it's that, somebody made a comment about being silent, like that's a choice. Maybe I change that choice, right? And I think I'll make a proactive effort to be more vocal and visible on those fronts.
That's great. So I had the prerogative of thinking about it in advance. So for me, the one I'm going to use is I'm actually working on practicing self-compassion. And all the studies show that if you are compassionate with yourself, then you come to people with more compassion and understanding. And you, instead of the no or the stop being the first thing you say, it's actually you come to them with compassion and you hear their ideas and you're more open. And that conflict that you're talking about, Al, can be much more productive because it's not conflict because you're different, it's conflict because you both just are coming at it from a different point of view. So that's my one action item. So, well,
Because you didn't hear, I encourage you to leave with an action item other than pushing the button.
yes.
Coming up with one.
Yep.
It's a process of lead with an action item.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I want to give a wholehearted thanks to our panelists today and our two participants from the front row. I think this has been a really fascinating conversation. I hope folks have enjoyed it as much as I have and learned something and been inspired and, as Ignacio said, taken an action item for yourself. Please, if you have time in your schedule, attend the other events this week, attend the BRG events, and you know, if there's ever a BRG event you think is going on, please feel free to reach out to me because I can find out pretty quickly if there's something going on and you think you missed it. So thank you, everyone, and thank you for coming today.